let me introduce Dr. Shawn McKee. How are you doing, Shawn?
I'm great, Darren. Thanks so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. We're glad you joined us today. Hey, as I was mentioning to everybody, kind of reading through your background. Okay, so what exactly is a neuroradiologist?
We're kind of like the doctor's doctor. We're the person that your doctor will go to find out why you're having a headache or why you're having a back pain or neck pain. So I always tell people, you don't want to ever want to need my services because it could mean there's a brain tumor or a stroke or a herniated disc, all kinds of unpleasant things. But I'm the doctor you never see, and I don't see you except two-dimensional black and white.
Well, that's well. Then I hope that I'll never need your services in any way. But I'm sure me as well as everyone else is so grateful for the time that you took to become an expert in that field. Because even though you're a person that we don't want to see, when we need it, we're definitely the person that we need. So thank you for all that you do. The first question that I'd ask is, for those that are out there listening that may not know who you are, know some of your background, can you just tell us your story really quick? How did a neuroradiologist become part of LifeVantage?
It is an interesting story because it's not the traditional way that people find out about LifeVantage, especially today. About 7 years ago, I was full-time radiologist, married to a full-time gastroenterologist with two very busy young boys. Everybody scheduled out, just crazy. And also managing partner of a very large health and wellness facility, 140,000 square feet, 7 pools, indoor track, etc. And so I used to say I was burning the candle at 12 ends. It was exhausting mentally and physically, and I found myself kind of just depleted. At the end of the day, my husband would come home, we'd sit on the couch, he would be talking to me about his day, and I would literally nod off. And if we would go to see a movie at night, my kids would laugh the next morning because I would be asleep the first 5 minutes, and we would never be able to talk about the movie because I didn't see it. I saw the back of my eyelids. And then in the morning, my sweet husband would come into the bedroom and literally set a cup of coffee down on the nightstand, hoping the aroma would rouse me so that I could start my day. I was just dragging. And formerly, I'd been the Energizer Bunny. I mean, I run marathons, ultra marathons, I'm, CrossFit, all that. And so it wasn't okay for me and my family for me to be blah, just tired, exhausted. So my husband, gently suggested maybe I had, low thyroid, maybe I had some things going on that maybe I should go to see, this doctor that he sends some of his patients to, when they're flagging and they come back looking great. And she happened to be an anti-aging doctor. So I did. I went to see her, bless you. And she, obviously I was low in lots of things, and so she put me on all these supplements, and I'd been reading too because I desperately wanted to feel better. So I was reading about, I should take olive leaf extract, and I should take magnesium, and I should take, L-theanine, and I should take ginseng. And I was just adding things every day, taking about 28 pills a day, just trying to, I guess the word would be a biohack. I was trying to biohack, and I didn't really know the right thing, but I did sense that there was some unifying factor, something upstream, that everything that I was reading about, which were so diverse, they all said, oh, this is the thing that's going to make you feel better. I'm like, there's got to be something in common that they all have, So I was kind of looking, but I didn't know what I was looking for. When I went back to see my doctor, I dutifully took those 28 pills every day, didn't feel like it, didn't feel natural, didn't like the way it, I didn't want to be a pill popper, even though they were herbs, natural things. So I kind of complained to her when I went to see her. She goes, how you doing? I said, I hate taking that many pills. And that's when she told me, she said, there's one product that's clinically proven to reduce oxidative stress in everyone in 30 days. And they have real university studies behind it. And I said, my jaw's on the ground. And I'm like, I want that, because my coach called me the oxidizer. So I knew, oxidation is not good. It's rusting. So she said, well, I don't sell it. I'm like, why not? I'm buying everything else from you. And she said, well, it's network marketing, and I'm just not sure how that would fit with my practice. Well, rewind, the manager of my gym had actually tried to tell me about it 2 weeks earlier. And I literally was like, I don't want to hear about another pill. I'm already taking all the best stuff, go away. So when she said the same thing, I'm like, wait, he tried to tell me about that. And just that evening, we had our meeting, our board of directors meeting for the club. And I said, that thing you were telling me about? He goes, Protandim? I said, yeah. He goes, what? I go, I got the big box. He goes, well, who did you sign up with? I go, my doctor's not a distributor, nobody. He goes, well, put my number down. So anyway, I ended up in the same organization as the person who told my doctor about it.
Wow, you never know when. I find that pretty interesting that it was actually somebody that he was prospecting, that a prospect prospected you out.
She's a customer. She was a customer.
Yeah. You're right. Not your traditional story.
Right.
But, I guess from the standpoint of a doctor, when you were saying, when you were taking 28 pills and she says, oh, well, there's just one that you could take, I would have probably said, well, why didn't you lead with that?
That's
rather
exactly
than
what I said.
Yeah.
And she hadn't known. I said, why didn't you tell me about this 6 months ago? And she said, well, I just found out about it 2 months ago. And I was like, oh.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you found out about it and that that it brought you around into LifeVantage. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you come into the business and you joined in 2012, but your business just recently, over the last maybe, year or so, has really been revving up. And that's where I would like to talk about. Why don't you walk us through kind of the last few months on things that you think are important, because we've seen you achieve the rank of Pro 7, get into the elite ranks. Congratulations on that. And then you're our newest Pro 8. You just broke this month that ended. So tell us, what are you doing? What do you see differently going on in your business that's causing this growth?
Well, that's a great question. And I have been I've been watching other leaders in our company and other leaders in other companies. And actually I'm becoming a student of the industry intentionally, because I feel like this is so important. It's so monumental that it's my obligation, my duty to share it with people and to do it effectively. And I'm one person, I can't do it all, right? So I had to find a way to create a system that people who aren't a doctor can follow, right? I became Pro 5 in a month because I basically just told everybody that, this is amazing, you have to do this. And they did, but they never educated themselves. And I talked so much, they were like, whoa, that sounds really good. Okay. But then they never convinced themselves, right? And so that doesn't duplicate well, because not everybody can do that. So I realized that I had to come up with something that other people could do just as easily as I could do. So literally I took the doctor out of the equation. When I'm doing LifeVantage, I'm not doing it as a doctor. I'm doing it as someone sharing something that is good, And so I will rewind a little bit. One time I happened to see a former leader with our company who made this big video announcement saying she was going to this other company because it was so simple. They had this ATM system, right? And I'm watching this video and I'm going, well, that's silly. We can have an ATM system. They don't own the patent on that, So I just decided, well, I'm going to learn that and I'm going to do that. And turns out that's what the leaders in other companies are all talking about. And so I just went to work last year. I said last year was going to be the year that I learn this Facebook thing. And I learn how to create community and to create tools and to build systems. And it was a big time commitment. But I generally, I knew that I had to do something for my team. My team had been working so hard. And, they deserve to see some progress, And so I just kind of copied what other people were doing, put my spin on it, and, presented it to everybody and taught it to everybody. and they're beautifully following the system. Those that are doing the system of, add, tag, and message, don't complicate things, are doing great. They're growing up, got a Pro 7, then she did it in 7 months, and a Pro 6 that did it in 6 months, which is why I'm Pro 8.
Well, good. Well, let's talk about this, because I think this ATM method, the add, tag, and message, many people may not be familiar with this. But let me first ask, would you say that when you sat down to become a student of this, were you, like, a lot of people don't feel that they're really technical. Did you consider yourself a technical person?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right. So maybe walk us through a little bit, because you said a couple of things. You talked about ATM. You talked about forming a community. First, can you walk us through some of the basics of ATM, and then after that, we'll talk about how you formed a community, and maybe you can give some tips.
Yes.
On doing it. Okay.
Well, formerly I had been, sending emails with some of the studies and some of the videos, or messaging people through text message, same thing, or even Facebook Messenger. And I finally realized, well, what this lady had talked about having gone to this other company, what they had was they had a group where basically all the information was, So I just started curating my favorite videos, my favorite studies, my favorite stories, and I just kind of put them all in one place. And, I invited my whole team, right? And I just encouraged them to, if somebody asks a question, tell them this is where you can learn about it, and instead of going, well, let's, 5 herbs and all this stuff with your voice, well, that's being the tool, right? And I wanted to teach people not to be the tool, but to point to a tool, to use a tool. So I have this saying that I teach in my team. I say, don't be a tool, use the tools, right? So once I started encouraging everybody to have the answers be, I can add you to, this group where you can learn, would you like me to? It just started working, because who wouldn't, if you just ask your friend, what is this thing you're posting about? What is this? What are you doing? And they said, I can add you to a group. Would you like me to? You have to say yes, because you just asked the question, right? So that gives, my team or whoever's asking the permission to put them in the community to learn.
Okay. So talk to us about, tell us how you started with curating content. Like, what type of content do you put up there? How do you push people, or, how do you get them into these groups, or how many groups do you have? How many little communities out there? Kind of give us an idea of how you've structured it.
Okay. Well, I just have the product information group. And so basically the ABC News report, the new videos, gosh, thank you so much for making these great videos about the Vitality Stack and the Nerf 1 and the Nerf 2 and the ProBio and all these. Basically, I go to LifeVantage channel, right? And they're all there. But if I send people there, I don't know if they're looking at it. I don't know if they're interested. I don't know if they like it. They're not really in a group where we can kind of interact. So I just take the content from the LifeVantage channel, the LifeVantage website, and I just put it in the group as a post, and I put my spin on it. Well, this is why I like this video, and this is so important, mitochondria, blah, blah, blah. Just add a little bit of interesting commentary on it and put it there as a post. And then I'll tag somebody that asks me a question about mitochondria in that post. I'll say, oh, Jeannie Jones, this is a great video on mitochondria. Maybe you should check it out. That kind of thing.
Wonderful. It seems pretty easy.
Yes.
So let's talk about the community. So right now you said that you had a product information community. Have you built any other communities? Let's say
yes.
People. Okay, what other communities do you have?
Well, the very first one I started before I actually learned about the add, tag, and message was my team group. And I was using that more to announce calls, like the Carrie Dickey call, which I love. I try to listen to it every week. I would announce that. I would announce trips, contests, that kind of thing. But I really didn't run with it in terms of recognizing people as much as I should have all along. But with this education came the realization that recognition is everything, and acknowledgement and encouragement, and just kind of, we're here for you. So I started building that, and whenever we added a new distributor, we put their picture in there. We say, please help us welcome this person, and a little blurb about them. And I learned that from some of the fantastic leaders that have joined LifeVantage recently, Tara Wilson, Rachel Jackson, and some of the tons of other leaders in LifeVantage. I follow you, I spy on you, because you guys are setting such great examples. And don't just limit it to LifeVantage leaders. I'm learning from, the experts in the whole industry. I don't necessarily go to those courses, those industry events. I'd love to someday, but I do try to avail myself of education that they put out there for free, and they stress this, and it's just common sense. It really matters to recognize and value people. So once I started doing that, the whole team started kind of coming together and really encouraging each other, which is wonderful.
So how do you, I know that a challenge or some of the areas that we often discuss is, okay, so you have social media, which is, kind of right now the hot area to prospect in, because, as I talk to some leaders, they say, well, I'm going to be in this town doing a meeting. And I say, that's great. One day I'd like you to be in 500 towns all at the same time doing the same meeting, because you can leverage yourself a lot, with social media. Not
Right.
saying doing individual meetings are bad. I'm just saying that you've got to use a whole variety of approaches and get where people's eyeballs are at. And so everybody's eyeballs are on social media. How are you transitioning? Because at some point during the process, there has to be an offline component to where you're dealing directly with people. Talk to us about this. How do you come to the close? And then how do you integrate them into the team and build that culture that's so important in our industry?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think whenever you have people that you're interacting with, and I'm going to speak from my team's perspective because they're doing the system so beautifully, and I just want to give a huge shout out to them. So basically, they can't wait to tell their story, which one of the reasons we're growing so fast is that my team is actually getting out there with their story. They're telling the most amazing stories about how they were so tired and now they have such energy and they feel great and their foot doesn't hurt and, whatever. They're being very compliant, and which I encourage and I cherish, but they're just telling their story. They're being brave. So naturally that attracts questions, right? So, Julie does her story and Susie says, oh my gosh, Julie, this is amazing. Wish I knew more about this. And then, she says, well, I can add you to a group. Would you like me to? Sure. So she puts her in there and then sends her a message. I tagged you in the pinned post. Watch the news report. It'll, you'll be amazed, blah, blah, blah. Here's my website for more questions. Okay. So then there's this dialogue that goes back and forth through Messenger. It can be through email. It can be through text. But I really think the Messenger app is great because it's attached to Facebook, right? So it's super easy. And then if they want to ask questions of me or their other support team, we can do a 3-way messenger chat. We can do a phone call. We can do a Zoom. We can do a, FaceTime, whatever it is. We make ourselves available to answer questions. And then once they've come into the, once they decide to get the product, we actually always say, if you're thinking of others who would benefit too, you might as well become a distributor. So that line right there is changing a lot of people's lives and I really think that's something that, why not ask that question? What are we, there's no reason not to ask that question. They may say no, they may say yes, but a lot of people are saying yes.
I would agree. Obviously they are, because your business is growing by leaps and bounds. Well, as we're approaching towards the end of, we typically do these for about half an hour and the time goes by so fast. What tips would you give to aspiring leaders, new leaders that are out there that may have just joined the business, that, things that you have learned that may help them pass through the learning curve a lot faster? What, maybe two or three of them, or one or two or three, whatever you have. What would you recommend?
The first one is, if you say something more than 2 or 3 times, you need to make it a tool. You need to turn it into a tool your team can use, because they're going to need to say that, and they're going to be asking you, well, what do I say? And you need to empower your team with tools, and it can be as simple as a shortcut on your iPhone. And I said this from stage when I was, I don't know, one of the events lately, that you need to have shortcuts, and it's so simple. And I don't mean taking a shortcut and cutting corners. I mean making a verbal, like a written phrase that you say over and over again, and turning it into just a few keystrokes on your phone, right? So you can actually fit this business in the nooks and crannies. When somebody says, how much is it? You can say, well, the Protandim Nerve 2 is $40.99, and instead of, and the Vitality Stack saves you $20.99. It's like, these are things that your team's going to need to know. So turn it into a tool and say, here, this is the phrase I use for this. And you can make it a shortcut. I have a shortcut 46, right? I hardly ever type the number 46. It just doesn't come up that often. So 46 for me is, and make sure you give it at least 4 to 6 months, because while oxidative stress is reduced in 30 days by 40%, it takes time for glutathione to be upregulated, and that's the master antioxidant, something like that. So people have that response on my team ready to give to the person that asks the question.
That's a good thought. When you said, I really like that. If you're saying it more than 2 or 3 times, make it into a tool or a shortcut. And as I think about my phone, I have very few of those shortcuts that I've actually programmed in. And what you're saying is making me think maybe I ought to go back and look at things that I'm saying all the time and build a shortcut for it.
Oh my gosh, my shortcut list is gigundo. I can't even remember them all. I have to type one of the keywords in there and search. Oh, that's the shortcut. Okay.
So tools, building the tools, creating shortcuts. What other suggestions or advice would you give new people coming into the business?
Come up with a system. What are the 3 or 5 things you do every day that results in people moving forward, and empower your team with those steps? Just break it down for them. For me, it's, create interest, right? Ask if they're open to learning about a possible solution that could help them, or that has helped some friends of yours, or that's helped many people And then if they are open, offer to add them to a product information group and ask if they would like you to if they would like you to add them. When they say yes, put them in there, add, tag, and message, and follow up. That's really what we're doing.
Wow. Well, thank you. Well, Sean, thank you so much for sharing the information that you have and all the wisdom and that you've gathered along the way in your journey here at LifeVantage. And again, congratulations on the growth of, congratulations to you. And as you pointed out a little earlier, it's your team. So congratulations to you and your team. Yes. For all the growth that you're having. And our goal, and my goal in interviewing leaders like yourself, is to try to transition some of that knowledge and what you're learning to other teams, because I'm sure you and I want everybody to be experiencing the success that you are. And that's the good thing about this industry. Everybody can be successful at the same time. It's not a sum zero thing. That's right. Well, everyone, tomorrow I've got another special broadcast that we're doing, and that's going to begin at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, so a little bit out of the regular time. I don't know if I've said this. I may have said it from stage. I'm a Scoutmaster, and so I've got a group of 25 scouts that I'm taking down whitewater rafting down the Colorado River. So I've got to fit it in before we leave for that. So. And if you know me very much, you know that I have paranoia of a few things: horses, cliffs, and also rivers that I can't really see the bottom of. Those kind of creep me out. So I'm sure it'll be a fun time. But so join us tomorrow. We've got one of our, we're going to be doing our Movers and Shakers edition. And that's going to be with Rich Petrus, who's a brand new Pro 5 with us. And that should be an exciting interview. So again, Sean, thank you for all that you're doing and for the leadership that you bring to the company. Appreciative of it.
For having me.
And to all of you out there, have a great day. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Mountain Time. Till then, see you later. Bye.